Good morning, everybody. This video will deal with cohesive devices. In particular, I will try to explain what cohesive devices are, how we use them, so the structure of these devices, the different types of cohesive devices, and the focus will be on devices expressing contrast. I will try to give you an idea of the common European framework of reference. So, for instance, what level is this cohesive device? Is it basic? Is it slightly more complex, or is it complex? Is it on an A1 level, B1, or even B2? The video should be useful for you both in your productive and receptive phases. In particular, in the productive phase, that is when you are speaking, when you are writing, it is extremely useful for you to learn how to use these extraordinary devices. So I hope you enjoy the video. Let's start by having a look at what a cohesive device is. What are cohesive devices then? Here is a definition. Cohesive devices, also called linking words, linkers, or connectors, are used to express the relationship between clauses, sentences, or paragraphs. They help us to make connections between different parts of an oral or a written text. Using cohesive devices should allow you to create connections between statements. So your productive phase, your speaking, your writing will be characterized by cohesion. But beware, not of the dog of cohesive devices, because these words and these expressions should be used adequately, and you should also avoid overusing them. So it is important to familiarize with them before you actually start using them. Cohesion, together with coherence, generally provide between a fifth and a fourth of your marks in most written tests, and are also evaluated in oral tests. However, it is important to use them adequately, accurately, and most of all, not to overuse them. So remember to handle them with care. There are different types of connectors or cohesive devices. We can use them for different purposes. For example, to express contrast, like but, however, to express different points of view, like on the other hand, to add information, like and, furthermore, to exemplify, like for example, to express causes and consequences, like because of, to express a cause, so, to express a consequence. And there are many other types of cohesive devices. Here we are, ready to look at cohesive devices expressing contrast. Today we are going to look at but, however, although or even though, while, whereas, whilst, despite or in spite of, nevertheless, and on the other hand. We are going to start with basic cohesive devices, but plus a different statement. We are speaking about an A1 level. But can be used to join two sentences. In this case, it is used in the middle of a sentence, and it usually follows a comma. For example, in my free time, I like going to the gym and jogging. Yesterday I wanted to go jogging, but it started to rain, so I decided to stay at home. In this statement, we have three cohesive devices: and, but, and so. They are all basic devices. Here is another basic cohesive device. However. This time we are speaking about an A2 level word. However can be used at the beginning and at the end of a sentence or in the middle under certain circumstances. It is usually followed by a comma. Let's have a look at the examples. I did a lot of revision. However, comma, I didn't pass the exam. I did a lot of revision. I didn't pass the exam, however, so I'm going to take it again. I did a lot of revision. I didn't pass the exam, however. Let's now move on to more complex cohesive devices, like although, which is on a B1 level, and even though, which is on a B1/B2 level. These two expressions are used to contrast two ideas at the beginning or in the middle of a sentence. They are followed by a subject, a verb, and a complement. When the sentence begins with although, even though, we separate the two parts with a comma. When these words are placed in the middle, no comma is used. Let's have a look at the examples. Although I did a lot of revision, I didn't pass the exam. Even though I did a lot of revision, I didn't pass the exam. I didn't pass the exam, although I did a lot of revision. I didn't pass the exam, even though I did a lot of revision. Though, alone, may be found at the end of a sentence too. It is a synonym of but. Example, I live in London. I study in Cambridge, though. Let's have a look at some other cohesive devices. While, whereas, and whilst. They are practically synonyms. The only difference is that while is a B1 level word, whereas is a B2 level word, and whilst is a little bit obsolete. We do not use this word very much anymore. The three words are followed by a subject, a verb, and a complement. Let's have a look at the examples. While Rome is a noisy city, my hometown is rather peaceful. Rome is a noisy city, whereas my hometown is rather peaceful. When the sentence begins with while or whereas, we separate the two parts with a comma. When these words are placed in the middle, no comma is used. We are now ready to look at complex cohesive devices. In particular, we can look at despite and in spite of. We are speaking about a B1, B2 level. The two words are interchangeable. Despite and in spite of may be followed by a noun, a gerund, or the fact that plus subject, verb, complement. Let's have a look at the first option. Despite or in spite of plus noun. This is a B1 level expression. Here are some examples. In spite of, despite all my revision, I didn't pass my exam. I didn't pass my exam in spite of, despite all my revision. When these sentences begin with in spite of or despite, we separate the two parts with a comma. When these words are placed in the middle, no comma is used. As you can see, in this case, despite and in spite of are followed by a noun. Despite and in spite of may also be followed by a gerund. In this case, we are speaking about a B1/B2 expression. Let's have a look at the examples. In spite of doing a lot of revision, I didn't pass the exam. I didn't pass the exam in spite of doing a lot of revision. The two words are interchangeable, so you can use either despite or in spite of. Note that we can also use despite and in spite of plus the perfect ing form to show that the action happened before the result. This is a B2 level expression, and here are some examples. In spite of having done a lot of revision, I didn't pass the exam. I didn't pass the exam in spite of having done a lot of revision. And here is the last way of using despite and in spite of. These two expressions may be followed by the fact that plus subject plus verb plus complement. This is a full B2 level expression. Remember that the word that may be omitted because it is not the subject of the sentence. Let's have a look at the examples and remember that these two expressions are interchangeable. You may use one or the other. You can choose. In spite of the fact that I did a lot of revision, I didn't pass the exam. I didn't pass the exam in spite of the fact that I did a lot of revision. And finally, let's have a look at two B2 level complex cohesive devices, nevertheless and on the other hand. Nevertheless is usually used at the beginning of a sentence and it is followed by a comma. Example, Maria was ill. Nevertheless, she went to school. On the other hand, is used at the beginning of a sentence. It is applicable only when there are two possibilities, on the one hand, on the other hand, corresponding to our two hands. It is usually followed by a comma too. For example, computers help people to save time at work. On the other hand, children can become addicted to computer games. That's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video on cohesion, in particular on devices used to express contrast. Next time we'll have a look at some different types of cohesive devices. For now, if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to click on like. If you want, you can subscribe to my channel and you will get some free updates and some free lessons on English grammar, English vocabulary, and some tips perhaps on how to pass an exam, an A2, B1, B2, C1 exam. So I hope to see you soon. Have a nice day. Bye for now.